It's now time for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to both President Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Hey, Craig, I want to start with you. Only 7 days after the Capitol storming, the House elected to impeach Donald Trump yesterday. It was a record-breaking timeline, and one needs to ask if this was a rush to judgment that ultimately will fail to reach the Senate and remove Trump from the White House. And in short, was this impeachment process worth it?
Good questions. I chose a backdrop that looks like I'm kind of in the fog of Washington, which may be the best explanation around. But honestly, I think that you have to recognize that for the members of the House and Senate, they went through truly a life-changing and situation with their lives at risk. And so it didn't take them long to decide that they pretty much had all the information they needed, at least to impeach the president based on what he was saying and publicly. And I think we have to remember it's a two-part process. I, for one, am glad that the Senate's not going to rush the impeachment or the trial, if you will. I think they should take time in the Senate. First of all, we're going to know more over time. I actually doubt that the facts are going to be helpful to the president because it seems to me unlikely that he just simply decided to go over and see what the crowd was doing. I think this was probably far more a planned event and a participation in an event than maybe he would want us to believe. So, but I do think it's important for the Senate to take the time to really understand the facts before they decide what action to take. And the action that I think all of them should weigh carefully is the question of whether he should be able to run for office again. It's not a foregone conclusion that he wouldn't try to rise from the depth of the situation he finds himself in. But I think that that's at least a consideration, especially if the facts suggest that this was a much more planned event than perhaps we know. So it's a sad day. It was certainly an historic vote to impeach for the second time a sitting president. And it comes at the end of his term, but I don't think that's really an issue. I think if the actions occurred while he was president, the Congress has every right to review the facts and to vote accordingly. I was a little bit disturbed to learn that our able Congressman Andy Harris from Eastern Shore, 1st District of Maryland, decided not only did he not want to go represent those constituents who might have favored his vote in favor of impeachment, he didn't even go to stand up for his friend, the president. Instead, as an anesthesiologist, I guess he was putting people to sleep in a nearby hospital, but odd way to spend such a historic day as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, Al, too fast, too quick for an impeachment?
No, not too fast or too quick. I mean, it was absolutely essential, I think, that the House proceeded. I mean, think about what this president is accused of with pretty significant evidence. And as Craig says, more evidence is likely to come before the trial. This is the most serious crime any president has ever committed against the United States of America. It's, sedition, treason, whatever you want to call it. But basically, he instigated an armed uprising to bring down our democratic process, to invade the citadel of democracy, the US Capitol, where I know I spent a good part of my life. And I think Craig may have spent some of his as well. I mean, that is no small matter. If you have a president who wants to destroy your system of government, he needs to be impeached because impeachment is the remedy for constitutional remedy for dealing with a president. And as Craig said, he needs to be barred from ever again serving in in public office. That, of course, would require a conviction in the Senate. I suspect I was on a call over the weekend with Jim Clyburn, the Democratic whip, and he has been pushing the idea of holding the article of impeachment until later in the year. And I don't know whether they'll do that or not, but I suspect as time goes on and with every day Trump is out of office, the likelihood of conviction goes up because people will in the Senate. I mean, the most troubling thing to me that I heard all day yesterday was these members of the House who said, we really would have voted to impeach, but we're afraid for our families. And just all of the security warnings that we got yesterday all over the country. I mean, I'm 2 blocks from what could be a very dangerous place, the capital of Maryland. So, I think the chances are greater than ever that in the Senate, he will be convicted, be barred from public office. And the final thing, this is really about what our country is going to be, what we're about as a country. Are we going to be a very difficult thing to be, which is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy? We're really coming up to that fight, and I have been, you can't have the Congress take less action than Twitter or all these corporations who are pulling away from Trump businesses or not giving money to any of the Trump's co-conspirators in Congress. So this is perfectly the right thing to do. And my guess is he's going to be convicted and barred from public office.
Al, staying with you, we will have a new president of the country in less than a week. And in addition to addressing COVID and a very troubled economy and certainly a polarized United States, he will need to weigh in on the fate of Donald Trump after he leaves office. Should President Biden follow President Ford's example and with his pardoning of Richard Nixon after Watergate? Or should Biden aggressively prosecute Trump and his associates for what happened on January 6th?
I think, first of all, I definitely think he should not pardon Donald Trump. Richard Nixon committed jaywalking compared to what Donald Trump has committed. And Nixon was contrite. Nixon, Nixon, a lot of people might think was a bad man, but he did, he had the interest of the country at heart, and he did a lot of good things for our country. The EPA is part of Nixon's legacy. There are a whole number of things. In his day, he was considered a pretty progressive Republican. Now, his behavior was another thing, but there was, this is just such a different kind of circumstance. I mean, we're talking about sending, inciting armed mobs to take down the Capitol. That's a really, and as we're learning day by day, this was an organized effort. And how much Trump was really involved in it, we don't know, but he clearly encouraged it. He clearly incited it. And so, Biden can't walk away from that. It'd be like walking away from Pearl Harbor in one sense, a threat to our way of life. Or the other thing I was thinking about, it's domestic terrorism. Would we not prosecute Timothy McVeigh for blowing up Oklahoma City? So we can't have another circumstance like this again. I think Biden doesn't have to spend a lot of time on it. The Justice Department can handle any kind of, first of all, the Senate will make the decision. Justice Department can handle any kind of the prosecutions. A lot of prosecutions are going to happen at state and local levels. You know, I personally think that the members of Congress who aided and abetted, and some people who may have really been involved, also ought to be, some of them maybe ought to be expelled from Congress, but certainly censured, and if they did criminal acts, subject to prosecution. But Biden's perfectly capable, and the Congress is perfectly capable of doing more than one thing. And you know, we've talked a lot about the crimes of Trump, but just in the way he is governed, particularly over the last two months, he has done a lot of things that the new Biden administration are going to have to undo very quickly. Whether it's reducing, you know, eliminating regulations that to fight discrimination in housing, a lot of environmental things that he's done in the last couple of days. He's done a lot of very dangerous foreign policy things, including changing our policies toward Taiwan, which could be very dangerous. I mean, so Biden will have his work cut out for him, but I think he can I think he can handle both fighting COVID, fixing the economy, and allow these prosecutions and impeachments to go forward.
Hey, Craig, what words of wisdom would you give President Biden on this?
I think I share the same point of view. He should not, really, he doesn't have to prosecute it. He definitely shouldn't pardon Trump. This is something that's before the Senate. And he's also, I think Biden has been smart in making clear that the Attorney General is going to take care of the interests of the country, not the interests of the president. And to the extent the Justice Department is involved either with President Trump's actions or other members of the administration, or even, as Al points out, members of Congress, you know, with the not only dozens, it looks like well over 100 different investigations likely with the FBI. The administration will be busy with this, but it's not going to be something that the White House needs to engage in. Kamala Harris, as the president of the Senate, vice president of the United States, may have a role and would certainly, I would imagine, be present for this. But I think, you know, the country needs to move forward, and there is no reason to be in the middle of this for President Biden. If he can move forward dealing with the economy, dealing with COVID, dealing with infrastructure package, dealing with the Congress, he can step into it if necessary, but I actually think he'd be better off trying to bring the country together. It's an interesting possibility that this would stretch months, not weeks, in terms of the Senate trial. I do think, as I said, the facts are going to get worse for the president, not better, and maybe that would also bring more people over to the conclusion that President Trump ought not to be able to seek office again. But I think President Biden has a lot of work ahead of him. He obviously faces those midterm elections come awfully fast when the party in power typically loses seats. And so to be involved in something that's divisive that he need not be involved in is something I'm pretty sure he'll avoid.
We'll leave it there. Craig Fuller, Al Fromm, thanks so much. See you next week. I think it'll